Today, we're exploring the key ideas from When the Body Says No by Gabor Maté.
This is an independent educational overview, enriched with our own integrative analysis and actionable exercises. Think of it as a guided reflection to spark your own insights, not a replacement for reading the book itself. Introduction. The prevailing modern medical paradigm often bifurcates human experience, dissecting the body into isolated systems while relegating the mind and emotions to a separate, less tangible realm. This fragmented view, however, stands in stark contrast to an intuitive, ancient wisdom that recognized the human being as an indivisible whole. Contemporary scientific advancements, particularly in fields bridging psychology, neurology, and immunology, are now rigorously validating this holistic truth. Our emotional landscape profoundly shapes our physical reality, and vice versa. This understanding reveals how the relentless pressures of a stress-laden world, coupled with unconscious emotional patterns, silently contribute to the genesis and progression of many prevalent chronic illnesses. Rather than merely seeking symptomatic relief through external interventions, a deeper inquiry into the interwoven tapestry of our inner lives and physical health offers a potent pathway to genuine healing. It challenges us to move beyond a passive role in our own well-being, inviting a profound personal transformation that aligns us with the body's innate wisdom. By fostering self-insight and recognizing the profound interconnectedness of our thoughts, feelings, and biological processes, individuals can embark on a journey toward authentic wholeness, cultivating not just the absence of disease, but a vibrant state of integrated health. This perspective asserts that illness is often a profound message from the body, an urgent plea to acknowledge and address imbalances that originate far deeper than mere physical symptoms suggest.
The embodied echoes of unexpressed emotion. Modern medical practice, with its remarkable triumphs in acute care and specialized interventions, often inadvertently adopts a dualistic perspective, treating the physical body and emotional states as distinct entities. This reductionist approach frequently leads clinicians to focus intensely on isolated symptoms or specific organs, inadvertently overlooking the comprehensive tapestry of an individual's life context and their profound internal landscape. Such a narrow focus risks missing crucial insights into the underlying origins and intricate progression of chronic and autoimmune conditions. Consider the pervasive impact of stress, often misunderstood as mere nervous tension or a reaction to overt dramatic life events like job loss or a major bereavement. The insidious truth is that chronic, internally generated stresses, often operating below conscious awareness, are far more damaging over time. Many individuals become subtly accustomed to, even reliant on, the steady drip of their own stress hormones, having been conditioned from an early age to live with an elevated internal baseline. This isn't just a mental state, it's a precise series of physiological events. Stress provokes objective changes within the brain, impacts the hormonal system via the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, and reconfigures immune defenses. When the brain perceives a threat, even an emotional or imagined one, the HPA axis orchestrates a cascade, releasing hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to prime the body for fight or flight. This ancient adaptive response is critical for immediate survival, but its chronic activation, without resolution, becomes deeply detrimental, leading to tissue damage, compromised immunity, and a host of other dysfunctions. This continuous physiological strain is powerfully exacerbated by emotional repression. When individuals habitually suppress feelings like anger, sadness, fear, or vulnerability, these emotions do not simply vanish. They manifest as physiological discharges, influencing organs, immune responses, and hormonal systems. For example, Individuals prone to autoimmune diseases like scleroderma, where the immune system attacks its own tissues, or multiple sclerosis, which damages nerve myelin, frequently share a common psychological profile. These are often people who compulsively prioritize others' needs, struggle to assert boundaries, and consistently repress their own pain or anger. They might present a facade of exceptional niceness or capability, yet beneath this exterior lies a profound self-neglect, a state of internally conditioned helplessness, where their authentic self is perpetually stifled. The body then becomes a poignant canvas, manifesting what the mind cannot articulate, a physical no to unrelenting inner stress.
The scientific discipline of psychoneuroimmunology, PNI, provides the rigorous framework to understand this intricate unity. PNI meticulously details how the psyche, mind and emotions, the nervous system, and the immune system are in constant, bidirectional communication. It illuminates how repressed emotional patterns can disorganize physiological defenses, potentially turning the immune system against the body itself, as seen in autoimmune conditions where the distinction between self and non-self becomes tragically blurred. This is not about assigning blame for suffering. Rather, it redefines responsibility as the empowered capacity to consciously respond to one's life circumstances, recognizing the undeniable link between internal emotional states and physical health. In the realm of cancer, this connection is equally stark. Extensive research reveals that emotional coping styles significantly impact immune function. For instance, suppression of anger and a passive, stoic response are associated with higher biological risk across various malignancies, including breast cancer, lung cancer, and prostate cancer. Patients diagnosed with lung cancer, for example, have frequently been observed to bottle up their feelings, exhibiting restricted emotional outlets. A profound repression of anger, termed rationality and anti-emotionality, RA, has been identified as a significant risk factor for death, particularly from cancer, intensifying the impact of carcinogens like tobacco smoke. This emotional shutdown disrupts DNA repair mechanisms, impairs apoptosis, programmed cell death, and cripples the immune system's ability to destroy mutated cells. Even the metastasis of cancer, the activation of dormant malignant cells, is highly susceptible to life stresses and the influences of the PNI system. Furthermore, conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, and functional disorders like irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, and GERD, though often labeled idiopathic or dismissed as all in the head, are deeply intertwined with emotional patterns. The gut's own extensive nervous system, often called a second brain, is profoundly integrated with the brain's emotional centers. Chronic emotional stress can disrupt the gut's local immune system, triggering inflammation, and can down-calibrate the body's pain thermostat, leading to hypersensitivity. When direct emotional signals are habitually repressed, physical pain emerges as a powerful secondary mode of perception, an alarm bell demanding attention. This profound connection is not a personal failing, but a testament to how our learned coping mechanisms, forged in early life, profoundly influence our biological terrain, creating a chronic state of physiological vulnerability that lays the groundwork for illness. The generational tapestry of vulnerability. The patterns of emotional repression and chronic physiological stress that underpin chronic illness are rarely self-generated in isolation. Instead, they form a complex generational tapestry woven from early life experiences, relational dynamics, and inherited emotional legacies. Our deepest vulnerabilities are often forged in the crucible of childhood, shaping an implicit understanding of the world and our place within it that profoundly dictates our adult health.
Crucially, the human brain is uniquely undeveloped at birth, relying almost entirely on nurturing interactions for its optimal growth and the formation of critical neural circuits. Parental love and tactile stimulation are not mere comforts, they are essential biological conditions driving the psychoneuroimmunoendocrine system and the hypothalamic pituitary HPA axis, the body's primary stress regulators. The absence of this vital emotional and physical attunement, a phenomenon termed the biology of loss, acts as a profound stressor, programming the brain's stress mechanisms from infancy. When parents, despite their best intentions, are physically present but emotionally unavailable, a condition called proximate separation, the child experiences physiological stress comparable to actual abandonment. These deeply etched unconscious experiences create neural templates that can lead to repeated unfulfilling adult relationships and a lifelong burden of chronic physiological stress. Individuals who develop illnesses like multiple sclerosis, ALS, or certain cancers often share histories marked by emotional deprivation, a palpable lack of unconditional affection, or pervasive pressures towards perfection and self-sacrifice. They may have learned early on that their true emotional expression, particularly anger, sadness, or distress, was either unsafe, burdensome, or simply went unacknowledged by caregivers. This conditioning fosters a weak sense of self and an unhealthy emotional fusion with others, where personal worth becomes dependent on external validation. They adopt roles of competence, cheerfulness, and dutifulness, believing they must endlessly care for others and deny their own pain. Consider the tragic example of individuals with ALS, who are frequently characterized by relentless self-drive, an inability to seek or accept help, and chronic emotional suppression, often masked by an extreme niceness. This intense need to conform to external expectations and deny their vulnerability can exhaust the nervous system, potentially impairing its capacity for self-repair. The concept of differentiation is central here. The capacity to maintain emotional autonomy and a clear sense of self while deeply connected to others. In families where parents could not model clear boundaries due to their own unresolved wounds, children can remain enmeshed, struggling to differentiate their own needs and feelings from those of their caregivers. This lack of differentiation, mirrored in an immune system that loses its ability to distinguish self from non-self, ultimately contributes to autoimmune diseases and other conditions. The child, in an unconscious attempt to protect the parent from discomfort, sacrifices their own emotional truth, creating an intricate dance of the generations where unresolved patterns are passed down. The poignant statement of a terminally ill daughter to her mother that her mother was part of her cancer underscores the invisible yet potent link between intergenerational emotional burdens, relational dynamics, and the body's eventual manifestation of chronic illness. This is why illness can manifest not from individual blame, but from deeply ingrained patterns of unexpressed pain, and the continuous struggle to find an authentic self amidst complex family histories and broader societal pressures. Modern society, with its relentless pressures on family structures, its emphasis on utilitarian value, and the diminished sense of control over work and life, only compounds these stresses. Economic disparities, for instance, are significant determinants of health, often outweighing traditional risk factors precisely because they amplify psychological stress and disrupt community and family cohesion. The biology of belief further cements these patterns at a cellular level. Chronically stressful early experiences program the developing nervous system, embedding unconscious convictions that dictate our stress responses and behaviors throughout life, often overriding conscious intent. These deeply ingrained beliefs, a relentless need for strength, the suppression of anger, an overwhelming sense of responsibility, or the unconscious requirement of severe illness to warrant care, create an internal milieu ripe for disease. Recognizing this profound intergenerational flow of stress and emotional patterning is not an exercise in blame, but an invitation to compassionate comprehension, enabling us to shift towards conscious responsibility and begin the profound work of healing across generations.
Reclaiming authentic self, the pathway to wholeness. Given the profound influence of unexpressed emotions, chronic stress, and inherited patterns on our physical well-being, the path to healing necessitates far more than merely treating symptoms. It demands a radical shift in perspective, moving from a fragmented view of health to a holistic understanding, and from passive reception of treatment to active, conscious engagement in one's own life. True healing, in essence, is a journey towards wholeness, requiring us to confront and transform the deeply ingrained internal programs that dictate our stress responses and behaviors. This journey begins by recognizing that illness is often a profound wake-up call, a dramatic manifestation of the body saying no to unsustainable patterns and unexpressed needs. It compels us to cultivate emotional competence, a capacity to engage with our internal and external worlds responsibly, without self-victimization or self-harm. Central to this is embracing the power of negative thinking, not as a pessimistic outlook, but as a courageous willingness to honestly examine what is not working, what lies out of balance, and what has been overlooked within oneself. This means challenging the societal inclination towards compulsive positive thinking, which often serves as a mechanism to avoid unpleasant realities or mask anxiety, rather than leading to genuine well-being. Authentic positive thinking, conversely, bravely embraces the entirety of our reality, trusting our capacity to confront difficult truths. Reclaiming wholeness involves a multifaceted approach, guided by principles that foster self-awareness, emotional liberation, and genuine connection. First, acceptance is paramount. This means having the courage to acknowledge current realities without denial, embracing even difficult thoughts not as defining truths, but as valuable information. It's about developing a compassionate relationship with oneself, dismantling the harsh inner critic that often depletes vital energy. True healing requires directing compassionate curiosity inward, recognizing our struggles with the same understanding we'd offer a friend, freeing energy for genuine transformation. Second, cultivating awareness involves reclaiming our innate capacity to perceive emotional truth. This requires trusting our intuitive gut feelings over spoken words, observing nonverbal cues, and consciously connecting to our internal states. Our bodies constantly send signals, a pounding heart, chronic fatigue, persistent headaches, which, rather than being suppressed, should be understood as profound messages guiding us toward understanding and healing. Third, the healthy expression of anger is a vital, often repressed, component of well-being. Repression of anger is a significant risk factor for disease, intensifying physiological stress. Healthy anger, distinct from destructive rage, is an internal, empowering, and paradoxically relaxing physiological experience. It's a surge of focused energy that provides crucial information about our boundaries and needs, allowing us to assert "I matter" in a way that respects both self and others.
Fourth, autonomy signifies the cultivation of an internal locus of control. Illness often reflects a lifelong struggle for self, as physical integrity can falter when psychic freedom is compromised. Healing necessitates establishing or reclaiming personal boundaries, a conscious awareness of one's desires and limits to re-establish a clear self-referenced internal control. This differentiation is crucial for emotional health and, by extension, physical health. Fifth, fostering genuine attachment is fundamental for well-being. Early relationships shape our capacity for openness and self-nurturing, and a lack of authentic social engagement elevates the risk of illness. Beneath the surface of bitterness or anger often lies a deeply frustrated yearning for intimate contact. The path to healing demands embracing vulnerability anew, discarding unconscious beliefs of being unlovable and actively seeking out genuine, reciprocal human connections, which are essential nutrients for the healing process. Sixth, assertion transcends the other principles. It is a profound self-declaration. We are, and we are who we are. This fundamental statement of being challenges the fear of internal emptiness and the false equivalence of self-worth with constant activity or achievement. It's a positive valuation of oneself irrespective of personal history, abilities, or external perceptions, embodying a state of intrinsic worth in simply existing. Finally, affirmation is the conscious act of making positive declarations and orienting towards profound values that foster healing and wholeness. This includes cultivating our own creative self, honoring the intrinsic urge to express our unique vitality. It also involves affirming the universe itself, recognizing our intrinsic connection to all existence, a powerful antidote to feelings of isolation. Holistic health, therefore, rests on three interdependent pillars: the body, psyche, and spiritual connection. To neglect any one of these is to invite imbalance and dis-ease, for the act of seeking these profound truths is in itself the finding. This comprehensive approach offers a powerful counter-narrative to medical reductionism, empowering individuals to discard beliefs that undermine their health, engage in honest self-appraisal, and step into a more authentic, integrated existence. By understanding and addressing the biology of belief, and by actively cultivating these principles of healing, profound personal transformation becomes possible, leading to not just relief from suffering, but a deeper, more meaningful engagement with life itself.
The profound insights coalescing from contemporary science, particularly within psychoneuroimmunology, underscore a fundamental truth often marginalized by conventional medicine. The human being is an intricate, indivisible system where mind, emotion, and body are inextricably linked. This unified perspective compels a radical reevaluation of health, illness, and the pathways to healing. The overarching implication is that chronic disease, far from being a purely random or solely genetic misfortune, frequently emerges as an embodied narrative of unexpressed emotional truth, unresolved relational dynamics, and deeply ingrained, often unconscious, coping mechanisms forged in early life. The critical takeaway is the insidious and pervasive impact of chronic stress, particularly the internally generated variety fueled by emotional repression. It is not external events alone, but our learned physiological and psychological responses to them that determine health outcomes. When individuals consistently suppress emotions, deny their own needs, or operate from a place of hyper-independence rooted in past deprivation, they create an internal biochemical milieu that is perpetually out of balance. This chronic stress, orchestrated by the HPA axis, directly compromises the immune system, impairs cellular repair mechanisms, and fosters an environment ripe for inflammation and cellular dysfunction, the fertile ground for conditions ranging from autoimmune disorders and various cancers to debilitating digestive issues and neurological decline. A core revelation is the powerful and often unconscious influence of childhood experiences on adult health. The biology of loss, stemming from emotional deprivation or lack of attunement, programs the developing brain's stress response systems, creating implicit memories and belief systems that dictate our vulnerabilities throughout life. This explains why certain personality traits, such as relentless people-pleasing, an inability to set boundaries, or the Type C pattern of extreme cooperation and suppressed anger, are consistently associated with higher disease risk. These are not character flaws, but rather learned survival strategies that, paradoxically, inflict a heavy biological toll. Understanding the intergenerational transmission of emotional patterns further elucidates how stress and illness can echo through families, not as genetic destiny, but as inherited ways of being in the world. For individuals, these insights are profoundly empowering.
They redefine responsibility not as fault or blame for illness, but as the inherent capacity to consciously respond to one's life circumstances. This shift moves beyond the victim mentality, fostering agency and self-efficacy. It invites a courageous internal journey, beginning with negative thinking, the honest appraisal of discomfort, unexpressed feelings, and dysfunctional patterns, rather than a forced, inauthentic positivity. This self-inquiry is critical for dismantling the biology of belief, those deeply ingrained, often unconscious convictions that sabotage health by dictating our stress responses at a cellular level.
For medicine, the implications are equally transformative. A truly holistic approach requires integrating the psychosocial dimensions of illness, recognizing that a person's life history, emotional competence, and relational dynamics are as crucial as their genetic makeup or lifestyle choices. The observed efficacy of psychological interventions, even the placebo effect, in conditions like IBD, underscores the body's profound innate capacity for healing when psychological and emotional factors are addressed. Moving forward, medical practice must transcend its dualistic tendencies, embracing the scientific validation of mind-body unity to develop more integrated, patient-centered care models. Ultimately, this commentary argues for an evolution in how we perceive ourselves and our health. Illness, when viewed through this lens, is no longer merely an adversary to be conquered by external means. Instead, it becomes a profound, albeit painful, opportunity for self-discovery, emotional liberation, and spiritual growth.
For medicine, the implications are equally transformative. A truly holistic approach requires integrating the psychosocial dimensions of illness, recognizing that a person's life history, emotional competence, and relational dynamics are as crucial as their genetic makeup or lifestyle choices. The observed efficacy of psychological interventions, even the placebo effect in conditions like IBD, underscores the body's profound innate capacity for healing when psychological and emotional factors are addressed. Moving forward, medical practice must transcend its dualistic tendencies, embracing the scientific validation of mind-body unity to develop more integrated, patient-centered care models. Ultimately, this commentary argues for an evolution in how we perceive ourselves and our health. Illness, when viewed through this lens, is no longer merely an adversary to be conquered by external means. Instead, it becomes a profound, albeit painful, opportunity for self-discovery, emotional liberation, and spiritual growth. By cultivating self-awareness, embracing authenticity, expressing healthy emotions, fostering genuine autonomy and connection, and affirming our intrinsic worth, individuals can not only mitigate the risk of disease, but also embark on a profound journey toward lasting wholeness. This is not just about avoiding sickness. It is about living a life in vibrant alignment with one's deepest self, where the body, mind, and spirit are finally in harmonious, integrated dialogue.
Actionable exercises. 1. Listen to your body's wisdom. Your body is constantly sending you messages about your well-being. Modern life often teaches us to ignore or suppress these signals, especially those related to stress and discomfort. This exercise helps you tune in. Throughout your day, take several moments to pause and notice what your body is telling you. Are your shoulders tight? Is your stomach churning? Do you feel an unexplained fatigue or a dull ache? Instead of dismissing these sensations as mere symptoms, try to see them as important communications. Gently ask yourself, what emotion might be linked to this physical feeling right now, or in the past few days? Consider recent interactions, unaddressed worries, or suppressed frustrations. There's no right or wrong answer, just an invitation to cultivate compassionate awareness and begin to understand your unique mind-body language. 2. Practice your authentic no. Many of us learn to prioritize others' needs over our own, often leading to a chronic suppression of our true feelings and needs. This seemingly helpful pattern can become a significant source of internal stress. This exercise encourages you to reclaim your personal boundaries and assert your autonomy. Think about recent situations where you said yes when you wanted to say no, or where you felt obliged to do something that drained you. Identify a small, low-stakes opportunity this week to practice your authentic no. This doesn't have to be a dramatic confrontation. It could be declining an invitation, asking for help, or simply expressing a preference that honors your needs. Notice any guilt or discomfort that arises. This is simply an old program playing out. Remind yourself that honoring your boundaries isn't selfish, it's essential for your health and wholeness. 3. Map your stress story. Your stress responses are deeply personal, shaped by your unique life history, especially early experiences. Uncovering these patterns can help you transform unconscious triggers into conscious choices. Reflect on your childhood and early adult years. Were there recurring situations where you felt unheard, had to suppress your emotions, especially anger or sadness, or consistently prioritized others' feelings over your own? How did you learn to cope when faced with conflict or disappointment? Consider if you tend to become hyper-independent, a people pleaser, or emotionally withdrawn when under pressure. Journaling about these observations can reveal connections between your past coping styles and your current reactions to stress. Understanding why you respond the way you do is the first step toward creating new, healthier patterns that truly serve your well-being.
Chapter 4. Reconnect with your creative self. A fundamental aspect of healing and wholeness is the affirmation of your unique creative self. Suppressing this innate drive can lead to a sense of deadness and contribute to physiological stress. This exercise invites you to rekindle or explore your creative impulse. Think about activities that bring you joy, curiosity, or a sense of flow, anything that allows you to express yourself freely. This could be writing, painting, singing, gardening, cooking, building, or even simply rearranging your living space with intention. The goal isn't to achieve perfection or produce a masterpiece, but to engage in an activity purely for the pleasure of creation and self-expression. Dedicate a specific. 4. Reconnect with your creative self. A fundamental aspect of healing and wholeness is the affirmation of your unique creative self. Suppressing this innate drive can lead to a sense of deadness and contribute to physiological stress. This exercise invites you to rekindle or explore your creative impulse. Think about activities that bring you joy, curiosity, or a sense of flow, anything that allows you to express yourself freely. This could be writing, painting, singing, gardening, cooking, building, or even simply rearranging your living space with intention. The goal isn't to achieve perfection or produce a masterpiece, but to engage in an activity purely for the pleasure of creation and self-expression. Dedicate a specific, non-negotiable time each week to this pursuit. Allow yourself to be present in the process, affirming your intrinsic worth and channeling your vitality in a way that truly resonates with your spirit. 5. Embrace the power of honest self-appraisal. True growth doesn't come from forcing positive thoughts, but from the courageous willingness to honestly examine what isn't working in your life. This power of negative thinking is about acknowledging imbalances and unaddressed truths. Take some quiet time to reflect on areas of your life where you feel a persistent unease, resentment, or a sense of going through the motions. Instead of immediately trying to fix or reframe these feelings, simply acknowledge them without judgment. Where are you sacrificing your true needs or values for external expectations? What difficult truths about your relationships, work, or self-image have you been avoiding? This is not about blame, but about gaining self-knowledge and reclaiming your autonomous control. Allow yourself to feel any discomfort this honesty brings.
trusting that confronting reality is the most powerful path to genuine peace and healing. That wraps up our exploration of today's book. If even one idea here gave you something to reflect on, give it a like so YouTube knows to share more with you. And if you'd like the next insight in your feed, hit subscribe. Remember, what you heard today is our independent interpretation, enriched with analysis and exercises. The full book has far more depth, so consider reading it to experience the author's work directly. Thanks for listening to DeftU Insights, where we turn great books into tools for growth.